Sweet. Thank
Hey.
you. Hey, thank you for joining me, Samichpunch. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Welcome. Go ahead and just start with a brief introduction. Welcome to a Candor Gander DFK Unmasked. Now, if you were here with us last time around, I used to be a goose on the loose. YouTube said, "No way, Jose." Apparently, that's a children's book. I didn't know there was confusion. Maybe I don't know who would confuse me for reading a children's book, but I suppose that'll happen. If you've not subscribed to the channel, feel free to subscribe, give a like. Join me, follow me on Twitter. Appreciate it. Thank you. We'll go ahead and just do some brief introductions. So Sandwich Punch, can you tell us about yourself?
Yeah. Yeah. Sure. So let me guess start with my crypto background. I started investing in crypto in late 2017, right at the tip of the bubble. Um, this was at the time when I was trading on a platform called GDAX, which is what eventually turned into Coinbase Pro. Um, I bought stuff at the peak. I ended up like holding it through 2020 and sold some my biggest holding was VeChain, and I sold it in like summer of 2020, and then the price like 24x'd over the next like 5 months. So that felt bad. But then I got into a lot of other things through the course of 2021, a lot of meme coins, a lot of like all that SafeMoon fork crap on Binance Smart Chain, and then started getting into GameFi, specifically DeFi Kingdoms, on August 22nd, the day that it launched, and have kind of been a member of that community since, and have been like really deep into a lot of like degen and more low low cap altcoin plays since late
Yeah,
summer 2021.
nice. Yeah, so I got into crypto back in, believe it or not, 2014. I bought $100 worth of Bitcoin at the time,
Nice.
and it was selling for $800 token. And of course, like every smart move I've ever made, I sold it for a loss, and I said never again. I'm not looking back. This Bitcoin thing's a scam. Came back, I think in 2017, and I held, and I owned a bunch of coins that are still around, but they're certainly not what what they were. OMG, some of the other ones. Ripple. I had some Ripple. Stuff went up, came back down, and
Yeah.
I said, "Hey, let me sell for a loss again." This time around, though, I said, "No way! I'm sticking around. I don't care. I'm gonna ride the wave up, down, whatever. It's gonna happen." Um, and here I am riding this wave, and hopefully it's a short-lived wave. I don't know. It could be months, could be a year or two, whatever. But I'm here. I'm gonna stick around. Um, I, you know, I'm gonna ask you some questions. We'll talk through some things. Feel free to skip through or answer what you want and give us some lawyer answers. Those are very much appreciated too.
Sure.
I've done some research on you, and this is all publicly available. Through your streams. I'm not stalking you. I promise.
Yeah.
Um, so you're into sports. You're into sports. You're into soccer. What other sports are you into, man?
Yeah. In terms of like watching it or playing.
Yeah, both. Watching, playing.
Yeah, so big fan of college football. That's like
Okay.
US football, right? Um, I'm a I do like fantasy football, so like NFL fantasy football. In terms of like playing sports, I love tennis, pretty much any racket sport, pickleball, ping pong, tennis, badminton, I love them all. Uh, been really into a game called Spike Ball, which is kind of like a mix between. That's kind of weird. I don't even know how to explain it, but you should Google it. It's really cool if you don't know what it is. Ultimate Frisbee. I'll play just about anything, but I'm terrible at basketball. You should ask Drake, the Drake on Digital, um, who's another YouTuber. We met up in East Denver, and me and Baby Punch played with him, and Drake carried me so hard, like his
Yeah.
back probably hurts still.
I have to ask you. So how tall are you?
I am 5'10".
Okay, so I am 5'5", and you know that just the world of hurt when it comes to sports. I would love playing basketball, but I always told myself that if I was the best basketball player on the team, it was not a good team to be in. I know. There's some really short people who can throw the rocket. I think Allen Iverson, right? I was no Allen Iverson. Ultimate frisbee was another sport I was really into. I really loved. But yeah, the height deficiency was real. Are you ambidextrous, or you do the one-handed throws? What do you do?
uh, I do I do one-handed throws, but I can throw forehand and backhand, hammer. Like I can throw them all really well.
So crypto means asking. So how many WPM you banging out there, Mr. Samit?
If you're referring to typing, I don't know. I should do a test. I should do a test one of these days.
Yeah,
So
no,
that
words per minute. I have to ask. It's an obvious question. How the heck do you put those together? I mean, how do you
so
put those medium articles together so quickly?
So I mean, it's honestly easier for me. I think it would be probably a bigger benefit for the community if I like took the time, listened to it, and summarized it, like really summarized it. But it's honestly faster and just easier for me to just listen. And while I'm listening, I just type it up.
I'm actually surprised. I honestly thought you were utilizing some sort of transcription machine. I was unaware you were doing that freehand. That's
No, yeah, I'm
crazy.
just like, just typing it up. I would say
Wow.
like my my typing like my speed typing came from like the days of like playing StarCraft and
Okay.
Warcraft, Diablo 2 online, just like always having to be like in the middle of, before voice chat was popular, like needing to like hurry and type and tell people what you're doing, what to do. And then I typed a lot in law school, like a lot of like listening to professors and needing to like really jot down everything they say. And then it really, I like the like crowning moment of like where I really had to do that a lot was we would at my law firm when I worked back at the law firm would be on these calls about these really big transactions, right? Like we're talking like billion-dollar mergers, and after the call, the partner, it was just like a wake-up call for me. The partner's like, "Hey, what did he say when right after we talked about this? Like, what did he say?" And I was like, "I'll be honest, man. We just talked about a lot of stuff over that last 3 hours, and I don't remember." And I kind of got reamed for it, and so I just got in the habit of like I'm never letting this happen again, and I just took like scrupulous notes on every single call I was on, and kind of just developed the habit of being able to like listen and just type it really fast.
So
It'd be
so I
nice to have
heard.
one of those like transcribing machines though that like court reporters have that where they
Yeah,
can type like way faster.
yeah, no kidding. I mean, but you're one, right? You're one of those infamous bots we all complain about in DFK.
I guess
What?
so.
Yeah, yeah. What's interesting? I heard once when one of my bosses said, who's the most important person in any meeting, and you have execs, and when you think, oh, execs, he goes, no, most important person in the room is the person taking minutes, because it's their sort of memo that sort of gets transcribed and sort of disseminated, so they have the power to emit, say, and sort of do what they will, and people will sort of take it as sort of golden truth, unless you were there in the room. Um, National parks. I know you're into national parks. Which ones? What are your favorites? What's like your top park you've been to?
um, I really love like Grand Teton National Park area, which is in Wyoming.
Okay, so you said Grand Teton, which is probably the lesser known of the parks there, which is the other one being Yellowstone. So why Grand Teton, not Yellowstone?
They're both really cool. In my experience having been to them both, which they're close enough that like you can drive from one into the other. Um, Yellowstone attracts a lot more of just like the giant tour buses. Everyone gets off, walks to go see something, walks back, super crowded. It's also the one that has like all the like infamous or not infamous, the famous, like Old
The geysers,
Faithful.
yeah.
But Grand Teton is a lot more like hikes. Like there's not much to see unless you want to go on like a 2-mile hike, or walk up to these like gorgeous like lakes or waterfalls. So it also
Favorite
just
hike?
looks cooler in my
So,
opinion.
so Grand Tetons. I mean, it's super. It looks super awesome in pictures. Certainly, Yellowstone takes the fame. But as far as hikes, I mean, is favorite hike you've ever been on?
Um, I went hiking one time in southern Utah. There's a lot of national parks there too, like Bryce, Zion, Moab, Arches National Park. And so I went. I can't remember the name of the hike, but it was in the Red Rocks. There's like the giant red arch. I'm sure you've seen it on like a Windows background, like default background at some
Yeah,
point.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So Bless is asking, are you in need of an editor for DFK?
Dude, honestly, I mean, if I were back to like writing a lot more articles, I would hit you up on that. The transcription of the feel free to, if you ever want to like go through after I post it and say, hey, like here's a bust here and there, but I'm more like, I'm like shooting for like a 90% accurate, typos, etc., and just like get it out to the community type of thing.
Hey, we'll take it. Tell me about your raspberry garden.
My raspberry garden, man, you have been listening to our
I've li-
stuff.
I know. You don't even want to know.
um, Raspberry gardens. So anybody that is not familiar with raspberry gardens, at least the type that I have planted, they take 2 years before you plant them, and then they take a whole year where they just grow and they don't produce any fruit. So this fall will be my first, or this summer will be like my first harvest. So pretty stoked about it. It's growing in really well.
So it's a raspberry garden, but are you growing any other things, or like raspberry, like that's what you
It's just
pick and that's what you
raspberries,
pick?
man, because we've tried like the salsa garden thing, like my wife and I, and like, oh, this will be so cool. But like here, the reality is like, unless you have something that can grow all year round, it's like all of your peppers, all of your onions, all of the tomatoes, they're ready at the same time. And if I want to make salsa with that, and I don't want to go and like jar it and can it, and all that crap, right? I just want to make like fresh salsa. Like that's helpful for me for like a month of the year. So
Right.
we scrapped it, and now we have raspberries, and we're excited because like, and honestly, it won't be like, oh, let's jam and do all these things. It'll be like our kids will go out there and just like ravage them, but that's okay. Like that's part of like growing up and being, having raspberry gardens. Like you get to go out there and you'll pick them straight off and eat them. So
And Bless is, so going back to what Bless is saying, he says he swears he's a great editor who'll hit you up if ever.
sounds good,
um,
man.
as far as games, you're a big gamer. Mobile games, Elder Scrolls, Diablo 2, ARPGs. Why those games? So what sort of attracted you to those games? What specifically sort of calls your attention?
I've just always had a thing for like RPGs. Blizzard games in general were like my first introduction to like PC gaming. When I watched like my older brothers play StarCraft and Warcraft 2. Heck, I even played Warcraft 1, which
Wow,
was
yeah.
like you had to have like the really old version of Windows to run that. And so like Blizzard has always been like a staple in my like arsenal of games that I like to play. And so like obviously that led to Diablo 2, Diablo 3, and that type of action RPG was like such a fundamental part of my like growing up, that just like influenced me to play Elder Scrolls, Morrowind, and that turned into Oblivion, Skyrim, and Elder Scrolls Online, and just any sort of RPG in that genre has just like really spoken to me.
Do you ever play Stronghold Crusader by any chance?
I haven't. No.
Okay, so that's probably like one of my top five games. I'm sort of weird in the sense that there's a plethora of games to be able to choose from. And I always go to like five games for nostalgia's sake. That's just one of them. Crypto Eames asking about Tides of Darkness. Is that something you've played
No,
or
I
know about?
haven't. I was looking up Stronghold Crusader. It looks like a Age of Empires esque type of game.
Yeah, yeah, no, it's super awesome. It's just and I love it. You know, it's that, it's Call of Duty, it's MLB The Show. It's like my favorite games. It's just right there. I'll play other things. I'll do other things here and there, but it's just the nostalgia is, it gets to me. I just want to consume it. Mobile games. I mean, that's, I know we're in the age of mobile, but why mobile games? When you think, and you think DFK too, like why sort of you have the possibility of playing like these tier one games, and you go to something like mobile
Well,
or
I don't
DFK.
play too many mobile games. The only mobile game I really play is Underlords, um, which is a auto battler. I've also played I played all the like auto battlers, right? Auto chess. There was another one, but Underlords is like one that I always go back to. But I mean, mobile games are just nice. It's convenient. Play it on your, while you're in bed, getting ready for bed, that kind of stuff.
No, perfect. So let's go back to crypto here for a minute. You got into DFK day one. I mean, how did that happen? How did you stumble on DFK? I mean, how did you do that?
I saw it from a Reddit post. It was late at night. I actually had just finished playing a game of Dota, and I was playing with Baby Punch, and we were actually in the middle of queuing for the next game, and I just like, minimize. I was browsing on the Harmony One subreddit because I was just generally bullish on Harmony at the time, and uh, yeah, I remember his name was Satoshi Harmonoto, I think it was the username. And I don't even know if they're in the DeFi Kingdoms community anymore, but they were just like, "Hey, check out this game, 800,000% APRs, blah blah blah." And I was like, "Well, I mean, sounds like a rug, but I'll get in on that. I'll
Right.
get in on that for like an hour or two. 800,000% APR for an hour is still pretty great." And so I didn't get in right then, but I was like, after this next game of Dota, I'll like take some time and look at this.
And the rest is history.
Yeah.
So you were involved in DFK. How did you become a knight? Did you approach the team? Did the team sort of stumble upon you? Was there sort of a call for recruit? Like, was it a recruitment tour of sorts? How did that go down?
No, so it was initiated on my end back in December, back when they had bards. So the Knights have been around for a long time, but they used to have under their marketing umbrella a group of people called bards. And the bards they were like, Tosh, the High Indian, um, people who were making YouTube videos. It's just anyone generally making content. Um, and because I had my Medium articles, I was like, hey, like I reached out to Spicy Maple Cat and asked like, hey, like, are you accepting applications for more bards? I had submitted, and they're like, great. And I was doing that for about a month and a half, 2 months before they just like, they moved to a different direction with their marketing efforts, and the bard program was essentially decommissioned. And then they were like, hey, but you can be a knight. You can do a lot of the same things if you'd like still, but you could be a knight instead. And so that's how I became a knight.
Nice. Crypto means asking. So has your strategy changed since day one? Sounded like it sounds like you were more into the LPs than you were into sort of the game. I mean, I don't know how many heroes. I think Gen zeros, right? But has your strategy shifted from LP to like hero summoning and sort of maybe some of the questing?
Um, I wouldn't say it's shifted as much. Like I still have pretty decent garden position over on Crystalvale. I moved my gardens over there, and then I have probably like a total of 90 heroes that I'm still questing with, and I have 3 Gen 0s that I still summon with. And I think that we're now kind of in the end game of garden emissions, at least in Serendel, right? Like we're in the last emissions uh, tier. So like
Mm-hmm.
for the next, I mean, 2-3 years, we're in those APRs will not be subject to change based off of a change in emissions. They will be subject to change based off of how they allocate them or the price of Jewel. But so I think there will always be a place for gardens, especially as we get to the point where it's like 100% unlocked, right? But I think that the focus will go more and more towards heroes eventually. Yeah.
Yeah. So, as far as and if you're anything like most of us who are into DFK, I mean, as far as just how consuming the game can be, I don't know that and I've heard you say this before. I don't know that I could ever take on another project remotely, and devote remotely as much time as I'm devoting to DFK. I mean, how much time do you sort of spend on the project um, these days versus maybe towards the middle or beginning?
I think towards the beginning and the middle, it was a lot more. I mean, obviously, questing takes time, but I was doing my whale watch reports in the earlier days, and those took a lot of time. I was even like in September, we got to the point where I was doing it like every other day, and then it was just like this is taking way too much time. Like, and then in February, like the Harmony Block Explorer kind of just pooped out in terms of how well it was reporting like holdings and jewel holdings, and it was just completely wrong. And so I stopped, and then DFK Earn came out, and their whale watch reporting is a million times better than it's exactly what I was hoping to do. And so I'm so glad they came out with it. And so it's just like, what, like this is a natural like evolution of like somebody making something a lot better, and I'm glad they did. And so I stopped doing that. That freed up a lot of time. My article writing has I have like a few like big beginners guides that are used a lot, but I haven't put out like a lot of like good like, or I guess recent guides. And so that's just like a natural function of like or that has created less like less time commitment. And so it's hard to like be so involved in one project and be in a lot of others. So like one of the things I do is like I'm in some other discords with other people where people are experts on various projects. And for example, I'm in Lavana, and I go to this channel, and there's a guy who is just like the Lavana dragons expert. And I just be like, I haven't followed anything for like a week and a half. Can you give me an update? Like, what do I need to be doing? Like, do I need to like, for example, Terra Luna, that whole thing, like Lavana is on Luna. And so like there's this big migration of all their NFTs. And so I haven't been following. I was just like, hey, what do I got to do? It's like, oh yeah, just go here, create a wallet. They're going to migrate everything. And so that's how I keep track of a lot of stuff. Another thing is like Baby Punch and I will go in on projects together. We will create like a joint wallet. We'll both send funds to it. That's what we did with Lavana and Krabata. And I'm like, hey, let me take the Lavana one, you take the Krabata one, and we'll just see where it goes. And you're responsible for managing that Krabata, and I'll be responsible for Lavana. So just things like that will allow me to get exposure to other projects, but not have to like significantly spend a lot of time.
Yeah, no, I'm a huge proponent of it's not always what you can do, it's who you know, right? And getting to know the right people when it comes to just about anything, crypto included, can be so valuable. I mean, you blink for for a moment during the day, and so much can change in any crypto project. And I know they say diversify, but if you diversify so much, you'd go crazy if you're not splitting it like you're doing. Um, uh, Final question on DFK. I mean, if the Samichpunch of August 2021 was sort of the time travel to today, would you be happy with what's been done, how far the project's progressed?
Yeah, I'd be happy. I wish I would obviously I would have handled my own portfolio differently. There's always things to complain about with every project, and it's very easy to put DeFi Kingdoms under a very critical lens because of the meteoric rise and very subsequent fall. And so, but like when you compare it to like progress other projects are making, and I would not consider DeFi Kingdoms as lagging behind. And then you've got, obviously all that drama that happened in the last couple of months. So yeah, I wish that would have been handled differently for sure.
Yeah, no. Bless is asking about who as far as who hired you. So it was you reached out to Spicy Maple Cat, right?
Yeah, but that
Yeah,
was back when the Bard program, so that's
yeah.
no more. And like, so Knights, I mean, that's obviously through Bolin.
Yeah, no, it's so crazy to think of how much has changed in the last month and a half, or even, geez, like 2, 3 weeks with not just DFK but crypto. Hindsight's always 2020. But any words of advice you could give to anyone to either whether they're in the project or someone who's entering DFK or any project really.
I think you gotta really do not be investing in May 2022, June 2022 with the expectation you're gonna like 100x. We're in a bear market and it's likely going to get worse. I'm not like selling all my bags because of that, like, but I'm also only investing money like I don't need right now. So like if I have
Right.
to, like I can end game this and wait 2 years. And if you can't do that, then be very, very careful about what you're investing these next few months,
No,
whether
I
that's
couldn't.
DeFi Kingdoms or any other project.
No, absolutely, and I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, and even things that seem safe may not be as safe as you thought them to be for sure. Um, with that said, I want to go into our next segment here. So we'll go into spin me around. So this will be sort of a wheel will spin, and it'll be a non-DFK sort of random question. Have you answer it, see what you think. So let's see that here. All right. Let's spin the wheel. See what question we got. So, you can have an unlimited supply of one thing for the rest of your life. What is it? Sushi, scotch tape, what is it?
Unlimited supply of one thing. Um, other than money, I would say I would say Taco Bell. I love Taco Bell.
Oh man. All right. So what about Taco Bell? Which dish, which meal?
Um, honestly, I like a lot of things, but probably when they had that like limited time burrito where like they grilled cheese on the outside of it, like
Yeah,
that was my jam.
I love Taco Bell. I live in San Diego, so there's a plethora of good Mexican food. So when I say, "Oh, hey, let's go to Taco Bell," no one sort of wants it. It's sort of like a secret you kind of have to hide from people because it's like, "Oh, Taco Bell. What do you mean Taco Bell?" But I'm a big fan of Taco Bell myself, man. If it was one of those treats we would have growing up, it's just awesome.
Yeah,
Um, all right, so let's play a different game.
sure.
Let's play Duck Duck Goose. Now, if anyone saw this last time around, questions are recycled, but we'll go ahead and ask Sammy Punch. We'll see what if you're faster than metas or how
Oh, there's
accurate
no
you are
way.
compared
There's
to
no
metas.
way I'm faster than Meadows. There's no
So,
way. But
all right, so the way we play is Duck Duck Goose. So two false statements. One of them is true. See if you can guess which one is the true statement here. So we have over 90,000 members on DFK Discord. That's number one.
okay.
Number two, we all know Barkeep Kessing, but is the NFT agent name Agent Valerie? And then number three, there are nearly 13,000 blue eggs.
So I'm supposed to say which one's the lie?
So which one's the truth?
Which one is the truth? Uh, 13,000 blue eggs.
That is right. Yeah. So last we checked, there's about a little over 13,600 eggs, which is sort of interesting to think about. I know I mentioned this when Metis was on. I know we were all sort of dreading the egg event, and we thought the market was just gonna get saturated with eggs. I myself sold a couple eggs, thinking I'll just pick them up over the weekend, and boy, was that not the case. I mean, it makes me think, especially with a pet, incubation. It makes me think about how, and maybe this is, I know this isn't the direction the team wanted to go, but I'm wondering how much more valuable pets would be, than heroes. We have over 200,000 heroes, right? And of those heroes, they're only pulling a minuscule amount of eggs, to turning into pets. And then you have to, if you want to sort of even drill it down more, you got to think of how many of those pets are actually sort of premium pets compared to others. I mean, what are your thoughts on eggs?
I think I like it. I like that we're actually like able to open them now. I hope that we get to at least see that profession quest bonus or profession skill bonus like ASAP. Otherwise, it's just like another. It's still like we're waiting. I love the jewel sinks for it. I, I the one thing that doesn't feel like awesome is that like a rare could roll what like essentially once you roll the skills or the bonuses and then the number of stars for the bonus, like the rarity doesn't really matter. I get that rarity impacts how those your roll rates for those, but like you could theoretically could have like a blue, like a rare or definitely a legendary that's better than a mythic, and once those have hatched and like they've been allocated their skills, like the rarity doesn't matter. So the legendary could be worth more than the mythic, and I guess it only feels weird because it's so much different than how heroes work, right? Heroes, the mythic bonus is perpetual, at least to level 100.
Have you hatched any eggs?
Yeah, I hatched 20. I got rugged.
Did you?
I did I did the fastest buff on them too, right? And it was I spent like 1,000 jewel and 100,000 gold, and it hurt.
Oh man, and I was just gonna say, and maybe RNG was in my favor. I hatched two eggs. One was a legendary, and one was a rare. Um,
Wow, that's
and
really good RNG.
yeah, yeah, no, well, and I, I went all out, right? I paid the 50 jewel, 5,000 gold, and my thought was, well, why wouldn't anyone else try this? I mean, they're so rare. Why would you sort of not increase your chances by 10 to sort of get those more desirable pets? But you're saying it, RNG can sort of get the best of you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I did get one legendary of those
Nice,
20, and I got two
nice.
rares, and then the commons and uncommons were like effectively the same.
So, what was your legendary? Do you remember?
It was a butterfly, and it was +3 to foraging or 3-star foraging, and then I think 3-star crafting of some sort, and then um 2-star on combat, I think.
Okay,
No, no, no.
okay,
It
not
was 322. 322.
okay, not bad, not bad. Are you one who's like, I need them all? I'll take what I've got. Are you buying more eggs, or are you just what you've got?
I'm gonna wait and see kind of how the market pans out, because like it obviously like utility is everything, right? If
Right.
we don't see utility for 2 or 3 months, then that's gonna impact prices. And so
Question for you. We'll go to our next segment here. What did the Fox say? And it's not just Frisky Fox, but DFK as a whole. What sort of news is out there? Did you by any chance catch the alpha content, the DFK dual stuff that was showcased on the Twitch?
so I wasn't able to watch it today. I was outside of cell service for the whole afternoon, and but that was on my radar to watch tonight. So sorry, I don't have like much to say about that.
No, no worries. Well, let me sort of give you some of my highlights, and maybe we can talk through them and sort of take it with a grain of salt. You'll have to watch it, and maybe your takes are different. But
Sure.
certainly the audience can sort of chime in and sort of toss in their 2 cents for sure. There was a lot of interesting stuff. It was nice. Um, uh, as far as the alpha, so you can do practice, so that you'll be able to do practice, you'll be able to do private, you'll be able to do public matches, which is great. There's going to be a jewel and gold component, so you'll be able to sort of toss that into the mix. So there's some sort of inherent burn mechanism added here. Um, what was interesting for me, and sort of, we'll start with sort of maybe some negatives potentially, and then sort of round up with some positives here. But as far as stamina use, and that's something that will be utilized. Conceivably be able to go in um, indefinitely, and then my biggest sort of glaring takeaway was I figured, you put in, let's say hypothetically, 5 jewel and 1,000 gold, you would win part of the pot, something akin to DFK Arena, right? But no, it sounds like the prizes will be tickets you'll win to be able to be entered into raffles for things. um, and that's sort of interesting. I know it's alpha and things are subject to change, but let's say for a minute that things stay as sort of advertised. What's your take on winning raffle tickets?
As long as it's like a big enough raffle pot, like I don't see like a huge issue with that. I think it I personally would have liked to see, a direct winning rather than like just a chance to win something if you win. And as long as that like just is reflected in like what it costs to get in on it, then I don't think that's an issue.
No, for sure. And I see Frozen chiming in here. Some of the sentiment, and I don't go back and forth. You can never make everyone happy, but some of the sentiment going around is, the only takeaway is raffle tickets, but no XP, nothing else. And again, it's all alpha, it can all change. But I suppose we'll wait and see what actually does come out. As far as, for me, some silver linings, and we've seen this time and time again. There, just because something's proposed a certain way doesn't mean that's the final iteration of something. I think of the jewel staking and the jeweler. There were some unhappy people with some of the rewards as far as gold, and how sort of, they pivoted and sort of included raffle tickets and sort of try to appease the people. So I would say that, if you aren't happy with what's being proposed, I can almost guarantee that the team, willing to bet that the team's hearing some of that and will sort of pivot accordingly. uh
Yeah.
burn burn mechanics interesting. The more you can sort of burn jewel and gold, I think the more utility there.
Did
Sam,
they say it would be a 100% burn, or would it just be split the normal fee allocation like everything else?
so they didn't say specifically. I know when Bolon was sort of showcasing, or at least if they did, I didn't catch it. What they wound up saying is, even the fees are subject to change. And as far as the fees go, different tiers, right? So if you end up at, if your entry fee is higher, you're subject to more raffle tickets than if you sort of bet on the lower end, or sort of, entry fee on the lower end. Um, what's your take on the burning of sort of inventory here, Samich?
I like it. I think the more we can burn, I mean, with botting and whatnot, the supply of all of these crafting mats are just they're completely inflationary. And so if just imagine a world where 90% of the population bots it and then just has the bots sell those materials, then that drives the price down pretty quick. But if people need those to hatch eggs or whatever it is, like that's healthy for the economy.
Yeah, no, and that's, we'll see what happens. I know, like it was advertised, very alpha. We'll see what comes of it, and hopefully it's something positive for all of us. I know we're all itching for more NFT utility, and I think at the end of the day, um, while something is better than nothing, I know that they'll aim to sort of put their best product out.
Yeah.
Um, Alrighty, so we'll go ahead and just keep chatting here on DFK news. As far as the sort of the burning of inventory, sort of going up and down, and sort of purchasing of inventory jewel, and I know people were speculating on Gaia tiers. Are you doing any sort of, speculation trading on, sub, tokens, and swing trading some of that? Is that something you do, something you've done?
Honestly, no, I just don't have like the time to monitor. I know you can set like use the deck screener bot and set, have it send you like a text message or sorry, a telegram message when prices hit certain things. But without like an order book, I don't I just don't have the time to like. And I think the liquidity and the volume of those trades just isn't like enough for me to like sit there and be like, okay, like I'm watching this chart, and as soon as so no, I haven't, but I know people are like making really good money, especially like if you've got a smaller bag and it's just like, man, I can double my money just like if I play it right and swing trading gold or tiers or some of these materials as we see price movement.
What are your thoughts on the comment here? What are your thoughts on the 2 pets for 1 egg sort of burn feature they're trying to implement or considering implementing?
I'll be honest, I've been like dunked at work this whole week, so I actually haven't seen that. So is that was that announced from the team, or was this an idea proposed by community members?
Yeah, that's a great question. I know I've heard of it. You know, I heard it come through the rumor murky. I don't know whether or not that's in fact something that's being proposed. But let's hypothetically say for a second it is something being proposed. Is that, you know, burn mechanic on pet burning? Is that something that interests you?
Yeah, I would burn all of mine except for my rares. Yeah, like the commons and uncommons I have are garbage. Like one
Yeah.
star, like I would immediately burn those and try another roll at them. Yeah.
So Kupo's saying that Hubert made reference to that being sort of something they're considering. Um,
I'm
so I
checking
mean something to say.
Discord.
It was on the Medium article from the Team Crypto meme saying.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm gonna have to check that out. I would definitely hit that up.
Sort of as an aside, someone's asking about the computer in the background. Is it a gaming computer? What you got?
That's my old one. Yeah, I got a new one. I have a standing desk and it's mounted underneath the desk, so you can't see it. So that's my old one. It still works well. I call that my alt account, and that is what Baby Punch plays Dota on when he comes over. When we
Nice.
when we can get the wives to like, go and hang out and have, and
Yeah.
maybe the kids, we put them down or whatever, or they occupy them, he'll play on that one. Otherwise it's not really used right now.
Did you ever do mining, like crypto mining of any sort?
No, I had a buddy who did. This would have been in 2018. But no, I never got into it. I was always just like, the money I would have spent on that, I'd rather just like buy it and just hold it. Buy
No,
it at a broker and
absolutely.
hold it.
I hear ya. No, so I got into it. I'm thinking, oh hey, you know what? I can print my own, you know, quote unquote money, you know, and sort of you know, get into it. And I bought, you know, some tiny machines here to do some mining. And boy, you know, it was more of a, you know, more of a hobby sort of venture and trying it out and setting it up, tinkering. Because that ROI is gonna, you know, I'll have them for years on end before they end up paying themselves off. Um, and yeah, no, it's interesting, but you know, I'd say caution, word of caution for anyone out there. All right, let's go to a new segment here. We'll go to Are You Faster Than Our Guest? So Meadows played this and he was so quick. There was like
Oh
no
yeah,
one.
there's no way I beat Metez.
So you know, same questions. And maybe, you know, maybe you do, maybe you don't. We'll see. For anyone listening, feel free to you know, participate. You might not be able to type those in, but play in your head. It'll, you know, it might be entertaining. All right. So question one. So 3 questions. We'll see if you can get the right answer here. So a warrior, a knight make a paladin. What does a pirate and a monk make?
Ninja.
All right. There we go. You might be just as fast. Let's see. At what level do we start needing Moshka runes?
Level 10.
Yep. A basic class hero has a maximum of 10 summons. How many maximum summons does an elite hero have?
An elite hero has 3.
That's right. See, you were just as fast.
I thought you were gonna hit me with like some haymakers there, so.
No, we gotta be nice. We gotta be nice. Questions for you. Closing remarks. Any thoughts for for anyone, sort of just I know we hit some of this before, but in light of everything that's happened in the last couple weeks, and I know you had a very great episode on, maybe lessons learned. Um, I know there was, a lot of FUD with DFK, specifically a lot of, FUD that came to be true with Terra and UST, and I'm sure there'll be plenty more in the future for different projects. How do lessons as to how to react to something like that? What would what's your takeaways on that?
Just like reacting to FUD in projects generally, or
Yeah. Are you one to sort of take it in, do your research, or self react because you think the market's gonna dump whether it's real or perceived?
so I'm terrible. I've traditionally and historically been a terrible swing trader with stuff like that. Like maybe I time the sell right, but then the buy I'm just like way off on. Or like I sell something and then I buy back. I end up buying back in at a higher price because I didn't get it right. So I I always ask myself, okay, fundamentally, what has changed? Um, has something changed fundamentally? And if so, that's when I start asking questions like, okay, like maybe I need to step away from this, take some time, sell my bags. If nothing has changed fundamentally and it's just, terrible market movement or uh, I also like because and I'm probably more like this than I should be. uh, I just like have a hard time like hearing somebody say like make an accusation about something and like I'm just like no, I need proof. Like anybody can say whatever they want, and that's to a fault sometimes. Like I probably defend projects, people more than I should because I'm like, well, you couldn't like this would never hold up in like a court of law. Like give me some proof or something and then I'll believe. But like if there really is like the smoking gun or the nail in the coffin evidence, like it's too late to sell at that point. So I typically end up bag holding, and I bag held my UST from when I could have cashed it out at 90 cents to cashing out on an average of like 30 cents. So
Yeah.
I would say, I would say if I could go back and redo things, and something I'm trying to implement more is whether true or not, perception is of the market is a huge factor and it's a huge driver in prices, and to try and trade more based off of the perception of the market rather than my perception, because my perception, while I am like have conviction that it's true and the fundamentals are still there, does not reflect the perception of the market, and the perception of the market is what drives the price. And so just because you believe in a project doesn't mean you have to watch your bags go to zero, because the rest of the market doesn't, even if they're wrong.
Right. And that's I couldn't have said it better myself. And I sort of for the DFK fight, I saw it happening sort of um as live. So it was interesting to sort of see the Discord and all the back and forth, and chatting, private chatting with people who I knew were big DFK maxis, just wondering like, oh my God, is this true? Is this not? Sort of surprised. I I wound up selling at first, thinking, whether real or not, it's gonna, market's gonna sort of have some sort of, it's gonna react, and it did, and I wound up buying back, at a lower price. The minute I heard, hey, you know what, we're gonna have a AMA sort of chatting, discussing this, I felt comfortable sort of buying back in and saying, hey, you know what, okay, let me give him a shot, let me give him a chance. If it was a true rug, there'd be no AMA. And if it was a rug, it was a terrible rug because they could have sold that $22 and sort of, ran, ran with it. Thoughts on the doxing? But final question here. Thoughts on the doxing? How did you end up feeling after that?
I think it's great. They didn't want to do it. I fully respect people that don't want to do it. I like, yeah, I don't know. The reality is people like, oh, like, if you dox, like or people were like, they better not show their faces and they better not let me find out their names, or like, I'm gonna sue them. And it's like, okay, yeah, like what grounds are you gonna sue them on? Like, do you understand securities laws? Because 95% of the country doesn't. Who are you gonna call? You're gonna call the SEC and like whistleblow? Like, that's not happening. So, and like what yeah, I think that there's just this misconception about the power you have over someone because you know their face and their first name, and which you can, like, a lot of people can turn into finding out more details. But I think it's just good for the perception of the project as a whole. It needed to happen at that time. I don't think it ever would have needed to get to that point if Jewel stayed at $22, but when your token tanks and you just had all these things compounding on top of each other, it just was kind of a necessary step to help relieve some of the pressure that was building up. So
Yeah, and
yeah, go ahead.
no, I was just saying, no, I mean, great, great point. I always told myself, well, they've got my money. They're not doxing for me. They're doxing for future investors who might be interested and on the fence, or who were uncertain about whether or not it was a project worth investing in. Um, I think, very, very promising. I'm really, I think an underplayed sort of message, or sort of docs is Dreamer's role with, what his past experience working at Goldman Sachs. I don't hear enough people maybe talking about that. I think that's super good for the project, in my opinion. It again, and going back to who I'm sure he knows some interesting people, and who knows, maybe DFK as a whole sort of ends up growing bigger than we all imagine. So we'll see. I do want to thank you for your time, Samich. I appreciate it. If you, I'll go ahead and post a link here. When pets came out, I said, hey, there's geese out there. I can't help but not, give out a geese. So if anyone wants to go ahead and, enter that Keen Sumo uh, uh, raffle giveaway, we'll be giving that away tomorrow evening. So you've got, maybe 20 hours to sort of put your name in there and share that around. So again, thank you very much. I appreciate the time. Best of luck with everything, and you enjoy the rest of your Thursday.
Hey, thanks, man. Thanks for having me on. Have a nice weekend.
Appreciate it. You have